seagulls follow trawler. It's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you very much.
Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Don't back down, double down. Don't back down, double down.
Yes, here we go. It is the Monday Club. I'm up for it. John Duncan's up for it. We're all up for it. Why not? There's no football, but the Boyce bus keeps rolling on. That is what we do on a Monday. Is there loads to talk about? I'd probably be lying to you if I said there was, but who gives a fuck? We'll try our best. It's the Boyce Brothers. That's what we do. Jonathan, how the devil are you this Monday evening?
I am good. We are on the day where a new challenge has been laid down from across the city.
This is the best bit of the week.
With Michael Beale being appointed to go against the reigning, undefended, undisputed champions of Scotland. Ange has a new challenger, Russell. We're all looking forward to seeing how that plays out. Mm-hmm. I think it could end up being like the old boxing analogy where it's a middleweight going up against a heavyweight, and he is not fit to end up challenging Ange Postecoglou. We'll be discussing all that and a whole lot more tonight, and I can't wait to get stuck into it all.
Oh, those intros, mate. Goosebumps, Jonathan, boys. Goosebumps, mate. Too good. He's bigged up the show way better than it's actually going to be, because other than Michael Beale joining Rangers, I really don't know what else I've got to talk about. So he's going to put it in the chat. You know, who was your what's your greatest ever Celtic 11? All that generic shite. Right, anyway, Jonathan, before we get all started, couple of things we need to go over. Obviously, you'll see in the top left there, the Brain Tumour Charity. I do believe it's a pinned comment. It's in the bio, the link, if you want to do it. There's a lot of boys in Dunfermline shaving their head for Shelley, which is a very nice thing to do. It's, you know, obviously a cause very close to the manager at the Old Inn. Gregor still not managed to quite nail him down yet. He's not been feeling too great the past few days, so I've not been able to get him on the bus yet to give us more insight on all that, but we will manage it before Friday's big event there in Dunfermline, which Jonathan, they've asked me to host. I don't think they know have a clue what they've got themselves into, but it was the closest thing I could do to shave my head, because I ain't doing that.
We all know we can grow back.
Jonathan, people don't need to know that. They just see me on a camera. They don't see me in real life, mate. Just because you get called Tim Tim doesn't mean you just get to start feeling that part of me. I actually take that beamer. And I know the World Cup is on, so this is as close to the World Cup as I could possibly get. A wee Italian 90 t-shirt, as typically Adidas Originals. I'm sure Phil will like this t-shirt. I wasn't thinking about Phil when I was getting dressed. That nearly sounded really weird. But when I put it on, I was like, oh, Big McGinley will like this one. And yeah, we need to talk about all that good stuff as well. And all that good stuff, Jonathan, well, it means do hit the like button because it gets the live show, a lot more traction on the old YouTube whilst we are on air. If you've not hit subscribe, I don't know what you're playing at. It's free. Hit subscribe and hit the fucking bell as well so you get notifications because the amount of content we've got coming out now is phenomenal. Also, on top of that, if you want to become a Boyce'S Bus member, we had a new one last night, Jonathan. I think it was Bailey. Bailey joined us last night, so yes.
Excellent.
Obviously, Brown Warrior, but he's a staple of the bus. He's a member. Phil McKinley's a member. I mean, he must be off his head. Gary Brown, he's a member. All that does is support the channel. That's it. The content's free. Don't worry about that. It's not like, we don't expect it of you. It is something completely up to yourselves. Anything else you need to cover, Jonathan? Are we ready to get stuck in?
I think we're ready to go. I think we're ready to get started with all that good stuff in terms of Celtic-related content.
Oh, brilliant. And Jim Dolan just joining there. He's here. Dog walking duty done. Take the chill and board the bus. Don't chill when you get on this bus, Jim. This bus is one of those buses where no seatbelts, no chilling. Let's have it. Danny O'Malley in the chat as well. Big legend. Right, okay. Jonathan, it's a dark, dark day for Celtic. He comes with a pedigree like no other. He comes with a new first name. He used to be called Michael. Now he's called Mickey. Oh, Mickey, you're so fine. You're so fine. You blow my mind. Hey, Mickey. Let's be completely clear. Jonathan's the manager with, I think, 24 games under his belt in management. I know he was the brains behind the operation under Gerrard's 1 out of 9 trophies operation, Jonathan. I was a bit more balanced when I was on my own last night, and I was trying to give it from the blue corner and the green corner. But not tonight. Now he's been appointed. Absolutely get it right around him. He's getting absolutely no favours off us. The harsh reality is, Jonathan, he's best known for being an assistant manager. He's currently, you put yourself in a parallel universe and Celtic are appointing the 7th place championship manager who's only ever been a manager for, I said championship manager there, but the 7th place manager in the championship who's only ever managed 24 games. But his biggest achievement in football was being the supposed brains behind an operation that won 1 out of 9 trophies. We would be going mad at this, Jonathan, especially the fact we get rid of the manager who just took us to a European final and it cost us $3.5 million in the process. If we then paid a further $1.5 million to bring in a manager of that standing, I think we could be bringing back sharks for that, Jonathan, and be outside Celtic Park right now. What do you think? I just think on paper, in fact, I'll put it better than that. The optics, Jonathan, aren't all that great, are they?
No, they're really not. It seems like a bit of a left field appointment. They're hoping Michael Beale's the answer to the Ange Postecoglou riddle that's been put in front of them over the last year and a half. The funny thing is, I think Rangers are looking at this as if Michael Beale is like the Tyson Fury making a big comeback to the big main event show, and as if he's going to be in his prime and able to kind of put Celtic aside. But what he doesn't realise is he's running up against a juggernaut that's in a far better place than where Celtic were when Michael Beale left the building with Gerrard just over a year ago. I don't think Michael Beale realised what he's signed up for here. And I think from a Celtic point of view, I don't think there's anything to fear whatsoever by this appointment. I just think you look at it and they can say what they want. He did do well tactically in the games against us, for a year or two probably before Gerrard even left. But as I say, Celtic were on the decline at that point. This Celtic now is very much a case that it is very much on the ascendancy once again. I think Ange Postecoglou will look at this and laugh if he does indeed even look at it at all. The guy's got no managerial pedigree. From our point of view, I think it was a pretty good appointment because I just can't see him doing much. Be interesting to see how much backing he gets because he did knock down the Wolves job just a few weeks ago, which was interesting. They knocked that back, but has chosen to come back to Rangers, which does make me think, Russell, and I'll put this to you. Do you think Michael Beale sees Celtic as a vulnerable team that he can potentially get at and improve his resume against, and that is why he's chosen Rangers over Wolverhampton Wanderers?
Absolutely not. I think he's turned down the Wolves job on a whim, on the basis that he was flying at that time. I think the results he's had at QPR over the last 5 weeks have been dismal. I think it's 5 defeats from his last 6 matches. Someone could correct me. I think Johnny Logue, who I had the pleasure of meeting at the weekend, Johnny, I hope you're well, mate. And his episode of the Barber Confessions with David, who's running that new series on the bus. Yeah, we're going to put that out. In fact, I'll ask the viewers what day they want me to release that, because I've got it sitting there. I can release it anytime. I go off tangent as always, Jonathan. But yes, with only 9 victories to his name, I think when you add in the fact it was 9 victories maybe from around 16, 17 games, and he was sitting top of the championship when he turns down Wolves, I think he's finding out very quickly that it's great doing all the sound bites. You know, Jonathan saying, oh, fucking... I'm so loyal to the cause and that. No, you're loyal because you're doing well. Let's get this abundantly clear. And you've seen Jeopardy doing the job at Wolves. I see more Jeopardy in the Rangers job. Let me get that abundantly clear, right? You know, when you try and work this out and try and, you know, slice and dice it any way you want, Jonathan, this Rangers job carries more jeopardy than the Wolves one, because Wolves don't come with an expectancy to win, even when they shouldn't be winning, which the Rangers job undeniably does. My biggest fear, if I was saying this last night, if I was the manager's agent, the agent of any manager, and I, you know, got a phone call from Rangers, I'd be saying to them, I want you to think long and hard about this, because you're going to be the guy who was in charge of 23 out of 38 games where they finished second. It's going to become a blot in your copybook, whether you like that and whether that's fair or not. So that leads you to, why did Michael Beale turn down probably a far more handsome salary, far bigger transfer budget, and the most, you know, glamorous, if you like, you know, if not the, you know, they think it's the best league in the world. Why would you turn that down and then take yourself up to a club 9 points behind, that have spent fuck all, even though the revenues look like they're high, because they've obviously got a precarious financial position of some sort. I'm not saying it's as bad as other people want you to believe, but I don't think it's remotely as healthy. That's what I think some of their fans want to believe either. I think that's proven in the money that they spend. So this looks like Mission Impossible. So why would he take it? He would take it because he's realised with his recent results, Jonathan, that he's on just as sugary a peg at QPR. If that were to go tits up, he ain't going to get an opportunity to manage at a club like a Rangers again. For argument's sake, if you want to know the truth, I think if Wolverhampton Wanderers came in this week, Jonathan, not 5 weeks ago, I think he would have went there now. I just think 5-6 weeks ago, he was riding the crest of a wave. It's all went Pete Tong now, and he's now lifting his skirt a wee bit, you know, and obviously Rangers have decided to take up the option. What I'll ask you, though, is the shortlist they had seems to have been short, shall we say. Not short as Gio, but it seems to have been a shortlist, right? What's their draw to this guy? Based on the record we just gave, based on the fact he's only ever managed 24 games before, bearing in mind he's not out of contract, so he comes with a compensation package towards QPR, I think it's around $1.5 million. What do you think's drawn Rangers so much to Michael Beale? I mean, how good do they think this guy is?
I think it all comes back to the fact that they always they like to recycle successful coaches there, and in their minds, you know, it's very good, Bob.
You've got me at the wind up, son.
Very, very good. But if you're looking at it, I look at Rangers and you're just thinking, I think the reason they're doing this is because they tend to go back on past successes. And for them, even though Gerrard only won 1 out of 9 trophies, he won the most important one for them and for us as well over that period. And I think from their point of view, and they've done it before when they went back to Walter Smith in the 2000s when Gordon Strachan had the number.
Far cry from Walter Smith.
I know. Oh yeah, the credentials are totally different in terms of managerial ability. But I think it's a common theme that Rangers like to fall back on things that they think has brought them success previously. And what they are backing on with Michael Beale is the fact they think he could possibly have Celtic's number in the derby matches. Although I think they're only basing that on the fact that he went up against the Neil Lennon's team that was on the decline, as I say, and then the wheels completely came off in the season that Rangers won the league title. I think if you're looking at it now, even in the game that Rangers played against Celtic when Michael Beale was still in the building at Ibrox, Celtic were very unfortunate to lose that match at Ibrox, Russell. They lost at 1-0, and that was in a game where they had the likes of Edouard and Christie playing, who, both, by all accounts, checked out of the building at that time, but Celtic
Totally
were
agree with
short
that.
on options. And Celtic probably should have still got a draw. If you went back and watched the highlights in that game, Celtic had a number of good chances to get something from it, and they just didn't take their opportunities on the day. So I think when Celtic were that far back, you've got to remember Celtic at that point hadn't won an away game in the league under Ange Postecoglou, and they did have a
Yes, I
difficult
remember
start.
it well.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, you won't be allowed to forget that in a hurry, I don't think. But I think
I've got a cheek to have a Celtic podcast, mate. I swear to God.
I think when you look at it like that, I think from where Celtic were, they were, really struggling under Ange at that time, and yet they still ran Rangers very close, considering where the two clubs were at the time. And it's been well documented both here and everywhere else. Celtic have only got better and better under Postecoglou as the months have gone by, and they're a completely different animal to what Rangers are used to before. And I think with Rangers, I think, Russell, they're looking at it as if, well, he brought them some success before, so maybe he can do it again. But from our point of view,
I think let's look at that. Let's just go into that bit there. It depends what you measure success on, because the cups they couldn't suss, even despite Celtic's demise. I honestly stand by the fact. I think. Chris Kerr just came in. A big shout out to him. Milton under 13s cup winners. Chris was featured on the bus many a time. He coaches the team. So a big shout out to you, pal. Well done. I've not got a phone just now, mate. Well, I've got a phone, but I've not got a SIM card. That should arrive tomorrow. Hence, if you've WhatsApp me or that, mate, I've not been able to get in touch. I've just seen it on Facebook today, pal. Sorry, I digress. But well done, Chris Kerr, and everyone at Milton. Well done, mate. But yeah, Jonathan, I mean, let's measure the success. The fact of the matter is, as I've always stood by, I think Celtic fans are so harsh on Lennon. I've seen stuff even on Twitter today, that Siamese boy, it's quite blatantly Lennon's agent, not Neil Lennon. Yeah, everyone's calling him Neil and they're calling him a tramp and things like that. I'm like, Celtic fans talking to a Celtic legend like that, if they think it's him, I don't like that. And let's be quite clear here, he lost that league title with no fans. As soon as fans are back, Celtic seem to get back in gear. Now, Ange obviously takes a lot of credit for everything he's done at that point. And yes, Lennon got a hell of a lot wrong. But I do also think that success needs to be also balanced with, they were falling further behind the year before when they could say it was a Zoom title all they want. I think the Zoom title saved their arses, saved Gerrard's arse, saved Mickey, as he's known now, Mickey Beale's arse. I think that defeat at Hamilton was ominous because it was going to be us next at Ibrox. And we were flying. Remember, we just started playing 3-5-2. Again, an adaptation from Lennon, which was very impressive at the time. And again, goes under the radar. He'd realised. I think, here's my honest take on it. I genuinely think they measure the success on this game and this game only. The League Cup final defeat 1-0, where they peppered our goal. I think they think that somehow that game showed this masterclass tacticians at work. Because see, the thing is, behind the closed doors, they're not the same atmospheres. Those derbies, Jonathan, have lost so much of what they're all about if there's no supporters there. And yes, absolutely, they got the win against Ange when he was in the middle of a rebuild and he had players that had checked out, etc. And he'd been in the door 2 minutes. And fair enough, they were better than us that day. But I go back to that League Cup, and I think they really did start thinking, Jonathan, this management team were masters at work. I think they're far from that. I actually also happen to think as well, for all Gerrard now seems to be, he relied so heavily on Mickey, Michael, whatever you want to call him, Jonathan. I mean, Gerrard was a good focal point to have because he could front up and he could talk well. He knew the game. I think at the end of the day, Mickey Beale doesn't come with that gravitas. He comes as a coach, and a coach who has been up here, and I'm sorry, but failed. There's no fear coming from me on this. Bob McBob. Blue Baron says, that the League Cup final where you scored the winning goal that was a mile offside? That's the one, Blue Baron. That is the one where you didn't score in, despite dominating. I genuinely generally don't think this is an appointment. This to me would be like us bringing Chris Davies back after Lennon left. Instead of Ange,
Yep.
us bringing Chris Davies up the road for Leicester. And guess what? Chris Davies would have came, Jonathan, with how many trophies? 7 at that point. He won up in Scotland in that time. And yet it would be underwhelming for us then. Do you know what I mean? This one, I don't really get it.
No, I completely agree. I think if Celtic had done something similar to this, then I think the fans would have been up in arms over it. I don't think the fact that a guy like Chris Davies had spent so much time, even under a Brendan Rodgers, and had so much success, I think would have really appeased the fans if that was who he'd ended up going for when Lennon had left. And, even when you're looking at Twitter and things like that, there does seem to be a split even amongst the Rangers fans as to whether or not this is a good appointment. It's interesting that there doesn't seem to have been any other names really mentioned with the Rangers job. It seems as if, they've either always had him earmarked, and the fact he was at Ibrox a couple of weeks ago suggests they did already have him earmarked for the job. But, you look at Michael Beale and his records, he started well at QPR. Fair play to him.
But
outside of that, to be given the Rangers job that quickly into a managerial career, for taking the coaching aspect to one side and you're just talking purely about his managerial record, it's crazy to think that he could get a job like that. Celtic fans wouldn't put up with that if it was a manager that's only done, whatever, 20 odd games.
The best example we could give, Jonathan. I think the Celtic blog posted about that earlier. I've only read the title of it. I've not actually read the article, but I knew where he was going with it already just by reading the article. He's like, Celtic wouldn't have went to Chris Davies. Do you know what I mean? And that would have been someone coming in with, knowledge of the city, a real love of the club. But he'd had 7 trophies in his back pocket, and we still wouldn't have thought that would have been an inspiring appointment. Let alone the fact this guy comes at one hell of a cost to them. But talking of cost, Jonathan, because we will move on, but just to link it though slightly, he's going to need to try and find funds, or Rangers are going to need to try scratching in the back of that couch again to find funds, or maybe they've got loads in the bank, they just didn't give it to Gio. Who knows? But the way I see it is, Jonathan, if they were to, the easiest way management to bring in money, if you're not going to be qualifying by winning the league, would be to sell your assets. They don't have any to sell. However, Celtic do. And that leads us nicely. Like that wee link there, that was pretty
good. That was good. Good little pivot. I like that.
Thanks,
I like that little pivot.
Joseph Juranovic, we're gonna go ball deep on this, not on Joseph. I don't think he would enjoy that, and neither would I. But we will just go straight into it, Jonathan, because with Celtic looking like they're very close to signing Alistair Johnson, who I've heard was costing us 700 grand. I heard he was just shy of $1 million. I then heard from a Canadian journalist he was around 6 million. Now today it says £3 million is the agreed fee. Who knows? Either way, it looks like there's going to be a significant output on this guy. There's no way we're going to have 3 right backs, so one's got to go. It ain't going to be Tony Ralston. For all I love him, and for all I think he could do a job at Barcelona, Jonathan, he's that good. I don't think it'll be him. I think it will be our Croatian international right back. I've seen Monty in the chat, so his ears will be perking up the now we're talking about Juranovic. Let's just have it, Jonathan. The phone goes. I am a prospective buyer for Josip Juranovic. You are Celtic's director of football. How much would you like for Juranovic?
15 million, I think. If we can get anywhere close to 15 million, I think you've got to start high, and then you potentially negotiate down. So if you're on the phone to me, I'm probably saying 20, and then we work our way to some sort of agreement in the middle. But I think if they get somewhere between 10 to 15 million, I think that's okay business based on his performances this season. I'd say between 10 and 15, I think is reasonable.
That's quite vague, Jonathan. It's quite vague. I mean, you're the director of football right now. Let's be honest, you can't just give 50%
start at 20. I said I'd start at 20 and then work my way down, so I'd probably end up at 15 if you want me to put a precise figure on it. I'd probably say around £15 million, but I think, Juranovic possibly could have went for slightly more if he'd started this season better. But I think he's actually went, his form's dipped this season for me. I don't think he's been quite as good as he was last season. I think he's been exposed in the Champions League games in particular. I can't think of many that he put in a solid performance, unlike some of the others did. I felt he was susceptible for some of the goals we've conceded, and indeed he was at fault for the Canada goal the other night in the World Cup as well, where he's caught sleeping at the back post. So
don't tell anyone. We're trying to sell him, remember?
yeah, well, this is why I think his value's been kind of bumped slightly. I know a lot of people seem to thinking he was, going to be the best thing to the sliced bread, and a lot of people are in Juranovic's camp on things like that. But for me, I think he's also one that I think wants to leave Russell. I think that's been proven even in the snippets from the Celtic season review that came out. You could kind of see he was being a wee bit cheeky, and I don't think Ange Postecoglou appreciated
I
that.
want your take on that. Now, Jonathan, I was saying this with Mark Kearney. You think of the hours and hours and hours of footage, right? That it takes to do these sort of 1 hour compilations or 1.5 hour films. Why have they left that in?
Well, yeah, I mean that could
I
very
thought it
well
was
be
Belly.
just to set the narrative. That could be to set the narrative as to why Juranovic might want out of the club, and it gives Celtic a buy if the fans were to turn around and question why Juranovic was being sold. I think most Celtic fans, though, Russell, are fairly relaxed about it, not just because they've got Ralston, who's already proven he's more than capable of stepping in, and for a lot of fans, including both of us, he'd probably be the number one choice at right back even now, whilst Juranovic is still in the building. Also, the fact that Alistair Johnston looks like he's coming in. Now, granted, most of us won't have seen much from play, but he looks pretty tidy from the World Cup showings we've seen from him. So I think for Juranovic to leave, I don't think Celtic fans will be overly concerned. I think it's a player that could fetch us a good sum of money. And at the same time, I think we've got enough in reserves there that it's not going to affect the squad too much. I mean, from your point of view, would there be any concerns about letting a guy like Juranovic go? Do you have any sort of major worries, anxiety, anything like that makes you think, oh, we should maybe be holding on to him for a bit longer?
No, I know Chris is saying the hate he's getting is undeserved. I don't think anyone hates him. I think he's a decent player. I'll go back to my, in my wee tiny world, infamous tweet, Jonathan, on the old, the old Celtic Twitter didn't like when I said he was a decent player. Was all I said. Decent player, Jonathan, right? Just not as good as some think. I don't call that hate. I think the fact we're talking about a player going for 8-figure sums, I don't think that's hate either. I think that shows that we obviously think he's a decent player. Right now, we're in a situation where, provided succession planning is in place, and it looks with the imminent arrival of Alistair Johnston that's done, why would we lose sleep? I think this is a player who made noises in the summer he wanted to leave. And I think Ange Postecoglou was in a situation in the summer where he's decided to stick rather than twist at that time, probably knowing the big man, that he was acutely aware Alistair Johnston would be available easier in the January window, and we'd get a wee bit more hype because you'll definitely be figuring out the World Cup. So it'll look at even a sexier signing because of that, if that makes sense. I don't think there's any point in losing sleep right now. I actually think we're in a new phase of Celtic. I think the days, Jonathan, where the manager builds a team for 3, 4, 5 years and the core of that stays the same. I think you live in cuckoo land if you think that's going to happen in Scotland now. I think we need to be realistic. I think Ange totally gets it. I think he's like, we'll get good players in. I will do my damn best to get them at as affordable a price as possible. But once the inevitable comes and they've got an agent tickling their balls, whispering in their ear and telling them, you're the man. Chelsea want you. Atletico Madrid want you. Man United want you. They're going to turn their heads, and Ange ain't going to be making life difficult for them to leave. He's going to just go, well, name your price if that's the reality. Name your price. Everyone's a winner, because if the agent's angling for it, he gets a bigger cut the higher the fee is. If Celtic have them on long-term deals, which I don't know if you've noticed, every player that seems to be joining us has a 5-year deal right now. Whilst they've got that allows you to build up the value as well. And what that means is when that money comes in, with Ange's succession planning, it allows us to be in a place where we can spend a bit more on the replacement, as opposed to £2.6 million on Juranovic. It looks like we're going to be spending a wee bit more than that on Johnston, whilst bringing in a proper fee for Juranovic. I don't think there's any need for us to be wetting the bed over that. We're out of Europe. in Ange we trust, as they say, I think we'll be all right.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. I don't think there should be any issues. As you say, it's domestic football from now until the end of the season. And Tony Ralston, as I've already said, is more than capable of stepping up, even putting Johnson to one side for the moment. Obviously, Johnson's quite an exciting option once we get that deal over the line. But I'm quite comfortable running with Ralston right back. I think he's been very
Chris
unlucky,
asked
to
the
be honest.
question, Jonathan. Chris asked you the question: will Ralston be our number one?
Well, I think to begin with, he will be. Yeah, I think Johnson will need to prove himself in training. I think it might take him a wee bit of time just to get used to the squad, etc. And that can sometimes mean there might be a wee bit of a bedding in process. I mean, obviously, being Canadian will help because he'll obviously be fluent in English, so it's not going to be the same as the Japanese boys that have came in. Particularly thinking of Itaguchi, who's never really featured and obviously has had more of an issue by the looks of things at settling in than the rest that came over from there. I think Ralston should be the number one to begin with, and then it's up to Johnson to push him straight in. I think Ralston would be very unfortunate if he isn't given a run of games, because if you're looking at it this season, Russell, I think that's probably one of the things I've been a little bit disappointed about so far. I know there's been very much to be disappointed about, of course, being a Celtic fan at the moment, but if I was to say something I was slightly disappointed in, is the fact that Ralston's probably not had as many games as I would have liked to have seen him had at this point of the season. I don't think he's featured as regularly as he did last season. And I just wonder, Russell, do you think that's because he's trying to put Juranovic in the shop window, he's not giving Ralston as much of a chance? Is it mainly because he's already thinking, January, I want Juranovic out, so I need to make sure he's playing, and then playing well to get him games, and he's almost sacrificing Ralston's playing time in order to achieve that?
Not entirely sure on that one, to be honest. I would like to think his selection process has a bit more depth to it than that, if I'm honest to you. But I know where you're coming from, because you will be acutely aware that if Juranovic starts 6 Champions League games, 4 World Cup games, that's 10 games at elite level this season. Of course, that inflates the value of a player, provided they perform, of course, which I felt the Champions League, I thought Juranovic was targeted by opposition at times. That may well be in the case of both Real Madrid and Shakhtar. You could flip it and say Vinicius Jr., Mudryk, they just happen to play left wing. So of course it looks maybe that is me, looking at it through a bit of a tainted prism in that aspect. So I take that on board. But one thing I will say is, when it comes to Celtic selling players, I think it's very important now that rather than just praising them blindly because you'll fall in love with a player too quick, maybe accept all footballers. I don't like to use the word mercenary, it sounds a wee bit harsh, but they're all in it for themselves a lot of the time now. What was the score when Jota scored his free kick at the Bernabeu?
Oh, exactly.
They won the World Cup, I think it was a real truthful celebration, but not from a Celtic perspective, very much from I've just scored a free kick at Real Madrid. Do you know what I mean? He's counting the numbers in his head. So, I mean, I just think from that point of view, we need to start accepting that, yes, these guys might be heroes, but they might be short-lived heroes. To me, real legends are the ones that were there for the test of time. I think those days are very much coming to an end. And I think if we want to get the squad, by the way, up to a situation where when we're in the Champions League, where we're picking up more than 2 points, I think there will need to be another level of player brought in. And that might mean flipping players pretty quickly. In the likes of Juranovic, 2.6 million brought in. You think between 10 and 15 million? I think it'll be closer to 10. But either way, you're looking at 4 times what you paid? Do that with a few players, and suddenly you've got, I don't want to call it a war chest because it's still pennies in Champions League terms. But with a manager with an eye for a player, it could tool them up pretty handily, Jonathan. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it definitely can, and I think you're right. I think there is going to be a period here where we're going to have to adapt to the sort of situation we're in now, where we are going to have to try and move players on and bring them in a lot quicker to replace them, because the days of building a team don't seem to be going on for much longer at Celtic, certainly not for a long period of time anyway. You'll probably only have players at the club now for 2 years, tops usually, if they're top quality, before they end up wanting a new challenge, and they've got suitors at the door for a different option. So I think from that point of view, Ange is always going to be looking to adapt to that, but I think he's very well versed and knows exactly what he signed up for in that. And to be fair, I think Ange Postecoglou quite likes going into the transfer market and unearthing the gems just as much as he likes coaching them when they're in the building. I don't think he's a sentimental type and is, going to be too upset if a player wants to leave the club because they're fed up and they want to try something else. And I think Ange Postecoglou is fairly relaxed on that part of it. So
yeah, I
think
totally agree with that. I think he's very relaxed about it. I think we've got a manager right now who understands where Celtic's standing is in football, but also where Celtic can get to. And I think Ange is in a hurry, which I like. I don't think he's here to, count his chickens and, go, oh, this is all right, mate. Hey, there's another treble. That gets me a job for you. I think he wants judged on the big time. And I think he appreciates the modern player. I think he's very in touch with how modern players' sort of mindset is now. I think he knows that when the big boys, the supposed big boys, I mean, I say that with, tongue firmly in cheek because I don't think there's many clubs bigger than Celtic, to be honest with you. I just think the waters that we swim in, Jonathan, are, far shallower than the Premier League and the Bundesliga, for example, Serie A, La Liga can offer. But all that being said, if that means players are going, then we can get the right price for them if we've prized them in the first place in these long-term deals. I don't think there's any sleep lost from Ange. I think he's got succession planning for every single position in the park. Whether that be as good a player, I mean, I think Jota's an absolute worldie. Do you know what I mean? But I think if he were to leave, I think he would have a couple of wingers in mind already. I really do. I think that's how he's approaching it, and I don't think sentiment's going to come into what you see whilst we've got this manager in charge, Jonathan. I think that those days are a long, long gone, pal.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think he's got an idea as to what he wants to do with the club. He has a vision of what he wants to achieve before his time is up at Celtic, and he's determined to go about it in his own way. And I think when it comes to the players, I think he'll look to some that might hang around. But if people don't want to be a part of what he plans to do at the club for the next few years, then he's quite happy to let them go. I'll be interested to see which ones end up staying loyal throughout the Ange Postecoglou era, if you like, Russell, because I could see him being here for a couple of years yet. And obviously, aside from the likes of Cal McGregor, who's obviously, invested his whole career into the football club and isn't going to be somebody I wouldn't imagine now that's going to be moving on anywhere else. I'll be interested to see which ones of the players properly buy into the Ange Postecoglou vision. For me, it might well end up being a couple of the Japanese boys. I think they might be quite taken with him, obviously have a bit more experience dealing with him previously as well. But if we were to flip it and look at it as a way of, yes, we know we're going to be, moving players on at Celtic, who could you possibly see as being the sort of key cogs in the Ange Postecoglou wheel who might still be at the club, when he decides to call it quits?
I don't think it's difficult. I think you look at the, straight away when you look at the spine, I think the goalkeeper will be improved on either in January or the summer. I think though in the rest of the spine, I think he will. He brought in Kyogo at a certain age for a reason. I think he wants peak years from Kyogo. I think in the midfield, Callum McGregor will be his Paul McStay, if you like. And those comparisons, by the way, will get stronger as time goes on.
Yep.
I appreciate the maestro is, a player I'm always annoyed about because I just caught him at the end and he wasn't the guy that he'd been sold to me by our dad. Do you know what I mean? The injuries it took its toll then. But, but any highlight show you watch, you look at him, he was an absolute machine of a midfielder, just a brilliant footballer. But I think Callum McGregor will be part of that long-term strategy. And I think at the centre half, John, I think Cameron Carter-Vickers, there's your spine. I think you can see that. Then you've got, I think, players that you'll accept won't last that long at Celtic, not because they're chasing or choking to leave, just the nature of the beast. This, Jonathan, I think there's certain vultures that come in that are just too big to ignore, not just from the Celtic point of view. That will obviously depend on transfer fees. Like I say, we're in an advantageous position with regards to that, because these guys all seem to have joined on long-term deals. But that being said, I think there's one or two. I think when you've been, say for example, like Cameron Carter-Vickers, I think when you've been at 10 clubs, or however many it is, I'm just making that up.
Yeah.
I think when you've been at that many loan sort of clubs, I think once you find a home, you start taking it a wee bit more seriously. Whereas if Cameron Carter-Vickers had only been at a Spurs and then comes to Celtic and does well, I think they then are more likely to angle, whereas I think we've got a Cameron Cutter Vickers at the right moment. The Scottish Cup draw is on right now. Jonathan, any preferences in that? Apparently Hibs have just drew Hearts. Breaking news.
Big draw there. That's huge, isn't it?
To me, I just go back to James English. Hibs Hearts. Nobody cares, mate.
Well, we'll see if there is any more derbies thrown out. I think there's certainly some interesting opposition that we could end up drawing. There's a few non-league teams that have managed to make it this far. I don't know what the score was tonight in the Ayr game, but certainly Stirling University, first university, Russell, to make this round in the Scottish Cup. That could be an
Never quite made
interesting
university,
one.
Jonathan. That is a touchy subject. Never quite made it. Nowhere near it.
Well, we could all be getting an education and getting to watch them play against the Hoops if they were to be drawn against us. That would be an interesting
we've been drawn. We're at home.
We're at home. Well, here we go. Live.
Drum roll. Greenock. Morton.
I think we lost to Morton the last time we played them, Russell, in the Cup, if I'm not mistaken. I think Phil might correct me if I'm wrong. Nobody cares, mate.
Nobody cares, mate. Morton at home. Nobody cares, mate. Yeah, what do you make of that? Instant reaction, Jonathan. Celtic against Morton. Thanks, Alistair, Jack, Chris, Stephen Bell. Fucking hell, we've got so many correspondents, Jonathan. I don't even need to check the draw. We've got that many. Yeah. Let's cross over live to Alistair, Jack. Alistair, the draw's just been made. Now, what is your reaction, Jonathan, to that? That's a really, really decent draw at home. That's what you want from the first. I know it's the fourth round, but effectively the first round of the Scottish Cup for us. It doesn't get much better than that, does it?
Yeah, home tie is what you want. As long as you've got a home game, that's what you're really ideally after. And, Morton should be a fairly straightforward game for us there as well. Although, as I say, I think Morton actually beat us the last time we played them. Perhaps it was in the League Cup under Lennon in his first spell. We definitely lost to Morton under him. So it's a game you've got to always take and show a bit of respect. And obviously there is something from DJ Gaz. Well remembered. Effie,
good spot, DJ Gaz. Yes, Effie Ambrose is at Greenock Morton. What a legend, eh? He just must love playing football, eh? He must just love it. Starting against Barcelona to go, Greenock Morton, I'm game. I don't know if you've seen say his name quietly on the bus, Jonathan. The David Martindale open goal pod last week. It was excellent, mate. And I know his leanings and all that. He was sound, right? He came over very well. But he was saying, they were like, did you have Effie Ambrose at Livy? He goes, all he wants to do is play in the the tech, what they call the tech tables, whatever they call it. You can work on your touch. He's like, I'm doing media. I turned around, he's waiting at my door on me. Gaffer, I want to play again at the tech table. It's all Effie Ambrose wanted to do. Apparently it was hilarious. So I mean, from playing against Barcelona, Jonathan, playing at a World Cup in Nigeria to playing for Greenock Morton, that is a real love of football. I respect that of Big Effie. I met him once. I said, can I get a photo with you? He was the happiest guy ever. Honestly. He said, yeah, of course. I think he was just chuffed that someone recognised him. Right, he said Queen Street Station on Tuesday afternoon. Okay, I don't know what day it was, but I'll say Tuesday afternoon. It sounds good. But he was so buzzing. He's like, thank you, brother. Thank you. I was like, no worries, mate. It's really nice. But yes, he played, as Brown Warrior comes in and says, he played in the last 16 of the Champions League. Dembele, Edouard, Julian, they didn't. Make of that what you will. That's a good point, isn't it? I think it's a good draw for us. And Rangers are away to St Johnstone. Now, we were talking about Mickey, Jonathan, earlier. Not taking the Mickey, because that's all still to come. But St Johnstone away is already a banana skin, mate, and they need to win one of those cups. He has to.
Yeah, that's a funny draw for them, considering St Johnstone have already beat them this season. And ironically, in the season that was so successful for Rangers under Michael Beale and Steven Gerrard. Who was the team that knocked them out of both the cups that year, Russell? I think they might have played in Perth as well. Name escapes me. St Johnstone? I think it might have been.
Well, Jonathan, it's great to know that your memory's doing so well, because it's nearly that time. Your favourite time on a Monday. So without further ado, on comes the man. Wait to see this for a kit, by the way, the big man's wearing the night. Oh, there he is, Phil
Alrighty. Hello.
Argentina. Oh, wow, I like it.
Indeed, 1986 Argentina. This is the Maradona hand of God era, that one.
Yes,
yeah,
that's class, mate. Looking good. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
We're good, mate. We're good.
Oh, always better for seeing you on a Monday, Phil. Always better for seeing you on a Monday.
You say that, Jonathan. He's not going to go any easier on you than he is me. We get asked the same question, remember? He's not going to give you favourable. It's 5-2.
It's back to Celtic related questions I've heard this week. That's what I've been
I can give you that as a spoiler just now. I said it last week. Last week was a one-off just because it was the World Cup started. No, it's a Celtic themed question tonight. You'll be very happy to know.
Thank God
Celtic
for that.
Related. Well, I'm ready, man. I'm ready for it.
Right.
I'm ready for some Sutton Death. But we've actually stretched out 46 minutes there not too badly. I mean,
done well, guys.
It's tough right now, eh? Like, all you want is Celtic to, like, either sign Ronaldo, Messi, whichever one you want, right? And then we've got loads of content. But it looks to me like instead, like, we're trying to, like, scour every possible news article there is on Celtic right now, trying to do your homework on Alistair Johnson, the Canadian international. They're taking the piss, mate. Do you know what I mean?
Well, ask Big Liam. He'll tell us. Liam have all the info when he's next on the bus.
Well, I don't have WhatsApp right now, so I'm not really able to get in touch with Liam. But yeah, we could have done that whole thing that all these other pods do. You know what I mean? The down low on Canadian international, Alistair Johnson.
That'd have been good.
Exclusive guest, Liam Greenlaw. Well, Liam going, I've only seen him twice, I know.
Oh, man. Oh,
they'll be wheeling out a big pal Dan Olovich soon, won't they, Phil, for the Kobayashi unveiling? He'll be left, right, and centre.
Don't even stop.
Honestly, he's a clown, man.
Oh,
I've forgotten more about football than he knows. I don't know how he's. I mean, just pick an obscure league, right? Kid on, you live there. Claim you're a football expert on it. Oh, fucking hell. Honestly, I'm missing a trick. I should have been doing this on the Lowland League or something in Scotland. You know what I mean? Nobody knows about it. It sounds like he's really clued up on that, man.
Yeah, the
for that one. The J-League, fuck off, Dan.
Yeah, he'll be doing the rounds soon enough, mate. Soon enough. But we need to find a Canadian equivalent somewhere. I'm sure there'll be a Canadian journalist out there or a Canadian-based journalist that'll be doing the rounds on the pod soon as well.
Yeah, I heard one on Clyde One.
Okay.
From Friday night. That's where I was getting that fee from, Phil. So I was like, I thought we were getting this guy for under £1 million, and then it was like he was saying his market value, and then it sort of digressed into like £5-6 million. I was like, what? I thought he was costing like buttons, but apparently the story's changed again.
By the way, when you mentioned Clyde One there, and I didn't hear this myself, I only saw it on Twitter the night, and I hope it's true. But did you hear what Andy Halliday's meant to have said on Clyde One the night regarding the Michael Beale appointment?
Oh, about the Portuguese-Spanish language thing.
Yes. Says he can get something out of Alfredo Morelos now because he's fluent in Portuguese. Well, that's great because Morelos isn't he fluent in Portuguese? Because he speaks Spanish. He's from Colombia. He don't speak Portuguese. Incredible. I really hope that's true. I hope that somebody in the chat can probably verify that. They might have listened. I hope it's not some urban myth that's been made up on Twitter the night and people are just running with it. I really hope that happened. But that's incredible if it did. Incredible.
It wouldn't surprise you. It wouldn't surprise me with Andy Halliday, let's be honest.
So there you go. We'll see how he gets on with that one.
I mean, this. I don't know if you've seen the footage of the Rangers players coming in the big Jeeps. Their big cars and all that into training, awaiting the news about the new manager. Honestly, fucking like Morelos looks like he looks like he's on a holiday. Put it that way.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. He looks like he's he's how many days off? 10. Fucking seriously, yeah.
Speak to me whatever language you want. I won't be losing the weight.
Aye.
He looks to me like he looks to me like a guy who has took the piss for too long now. Do you know what I mean? Like he's not a professional footballer. Just no way. But everyone's laughing at that. Everyone is laughing at the old Portuguese tale. Phyllis, that was good banter, mate.
Hopefully it's true, man. I say I hope nobody's made it up on Twitter and just ran with it, and it's just became.
No, I heard it.
Okay,
no,
it did happen.
I heard it. Yes, it did happen.
No worries, no worries. Well, shall we crack on, guys? Will we get a wee game of Sutton Death in just now? Let's do it.
Let's do it.
First things first, I better change the old background again to our new studio background.
Yes. Do you like the t-shirt, Phil? I thought you liked this one.
Yes, very nice. Italian 90.
I nearly tripped myself up at the start of the show, Phil. I was saying I was getting changed and thinking about you, mate. That's not quite what happened.
I overheard that one. I was in the comments.
I had the t-shirt on, and I thought, Phil might like this. It all just came out a bit wrong.
Yeah, I overheard that one. I was listening there. I was in the chat, and I had no comment on that one. I still got no comment on that one.
If I've got an email of resignation, mate, to open after the show, then I totally understand.
Oh man, so let's see. There we go. So that's that now. Nice one. Okay, so obviously comments off, gentlemen, as always, which I know you do anyway.
Oh yes, 2 seconds. No, I've not put mine off yet. They're off now.
No worries at all. Okay, so yeah, it's time for another game of Sutton Death, a good old penalty shootout style game between the Boyce Brothers here. Current score on the scoreboard is 5-2 to Russell. So Jonathan really needs to get back on track here. But yeah, being a Celtic question, then we're back in. I threw a curveball at you last week, to be fair. I threw a curveball. So, yeah, of course, the rules of this is it's a penalty shootout, so they get, obviously, 5 shots. I'm the goalkeeper in this case. We've got one question with multiple answers to it. They get a right question. Obviously, they score. Wrong answer. And then they've missed. And we will have a winner after 5, hopefully. But it could go a bit longer. If it does, then we'll go to a maximum of 10, or else we'll be here guessing all night. And I don't want to keep you on for 3 hours or something like that. I do that on a Friday night. I'm not going to do it the 90s. But yeah, so first thing I better do before we just go any further, I better just cue the music, because it's music this week. I tried the heartbeat thing. I'll keep the heartbeat for if we go to a tiebreaker question. We'll have the heartbeat music. So we'll get the music back from a couple weeks ago, but I better turn the volume down so it doesn't come blasting through into my headset. So 3, 2, and it should.
Oh, I quite like it.
It's tense, Jonathan. It's tense in here.
It is tense.
It's just got cold.
Very cold. Very cold in the studio. Okay, so I have to ask this every week, although I know the answer already. Russell, you won last week, so you're going first.
I can't hear you, mate. No, I'm only joking. Yes, I'll go first.
Of course. Okay, so tonight is a topical question because tonight was a draw for the Scottish Cup. And it's all about that. So in celebration of the Scottish Cup 4th round draw this evening, can you guys name any Celtic player who has scored against a lower league team in a Scottish Cup campaign from 2010 to present day? There are 36 potential answers.
Oh my God. Oh, wow.
Lots of answers. Lots.
And since 2010?
2010 to present day, yeah.
Okay. We'll start with Anthony Stokes.
Yeah, Anthony Stokes is, of course, correct, Russell. Well done.
I shall go Scott Sinclair.
Yep, Scott Sinclair is indeed correct.
Moussa Dembele, I think, was it a hat-trick against Alloa? Something like that?
Moussa Dembele is correct. All I will do is I will just confirm if it's fair. I'll not say any team in case it gives the other person any sort of clues about a game.
Very good, fella.
Very good. There's me adding some jazz to my answer there, but
very good. Odsonne Edouard.
Odsonne Edouard's on the list. Yeah, he's definitely scored against lower league opposition.
Lee Griffiths.
Oh, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, of course, Lee Griffiths is indeed correct.
Come on.
Okay, who else has scored? Chris Commons.
Yeah, Chris Commons is indeed a correct answer.
James Forrest.
Yeah, of course, James Forrest again. Correct answer.
Very good, Russell. Very good. Gary Hooper.
That's what I was going to say.
Gary Hooper, surprisingly, is not the correct answer.
Oh my God, man! How does this keep happening?
Incredibly, yep. Gary Hooper, not the correct answer.
I will go Oh, Boyce, just don't overcomplicate it, but I'm going to overcomplicate it. I don't know why I'm doing this to myself. I'm going to say Scott Brown.
Scott Brown is indeed a correct answer.
I remember the goal.
So, as a result, Russell is a 5-3 up. So, yeah, that's a victory for Russell. Again, that makes it now, it's a famous scoreline. It's 6-2 on the overall scoreboard. Oh my God. So, guys, would you like to know all of the many other answers that you could have had?
What would you went for next, Jonathan? You know, make it 5-4 if you still wish.
Samaras. Samaras was who I was going to go with.
Amazingly, Georgios Samaras wasn't on the list neither. Okay, so all of the correct answers, I say from 2010, so January 2010 to present day, correct answers: Niall McGinn, Diamansi Kamara, Morten Rasmussen, Robbie Keane, Daniel Mastorovic, Adam Matthews, Charlie Mulgrew, Virgil van Dijk, John Guidetti, Carlton Cole,
wow,
Kazim Richards, Gary Mackay-Steven, Callum McGregor, Eric Sviatchenko and Tom Rogic, both against lower league Rangers in the semi-final in 2015.
Very good.
There was another team in all Hearts as well. Remember, they've been up and down between the championship. Yep. Stuart Armstrong, Mikael Lustig, Olivia Ncham, Dedrick Boyata, Timo Weir, amazingly Bio scored a goal against Clyde, Ryan Christie, Moyel Yunusi, Georgios Yakimakis, Leela Bada, Liam Scales, Dyson Maeda, and Nia Beaton.
Am I right? I think we didn't pick one player from the current day, eh?
Nope.
As you hear 2010, you instantly go back to 2010's team. It's so weird, eh? It's like we had 12 years to play with.
Aye, yeah. So there you go. So
like
it's
Giacomakis, of course, yeah, I remember it. The FTF was born. The first time finish, remember the near post? Remember was that away to Alloa, actually?
Alloa, yep, last season in the cup. Right.
I remember the Scott Brown one, if I'm right, he pinged at top bins.
I
think he pinged it at Celtic
there's a Scott Brown one against Berwick Rangers. See the one Mastorovic scores in? Yep. Scott Brown scores in that game as well. And somewhere along the line, when I was going through the list of scorers, he scored against somebody else, a lower league team in under Brendan Rodgers. But yeah, he's on the list for the goal against Berwick Rangers in 2011. That's how long ago that was. But I looked there with Carlton Cole and Kazim Richards. That's how you say it. Yeah, they were on there. Amazingly.
It's too much tension on a Monday night. It's just too much for me on a Monday night, you know. I don't know how you're going to sleep though, Jonathan. I don't know how you're going to sleep, son. 6-2. Are you going to pull this back?
I'm beginning to doubt myself. I'm not going to lie. I need to do some sort of transfer dealings in January and try and buy some knowledge, I think.
See, Gary Hooper scored in League Cup games against Ross County when they were in the lower leagues and stuff, but amazingly he's not a goal scorer against a lower league team in the Scottish Cup for us. So yeah.
There's Chris.
An obvious one.
Yeah, but I'll be honest, I was 100% going to say Gary Hooper next. So we've got away with one.
Them the breaks.
Yeah, them the breaks indeed. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that has been another Monday Club just after 10. You all get to your bed at a decent time tonight. Loads of content coming up. Do not forget tomorrow, myself and Liam McGrandles. That will be class, not to be missed. He is a legend these days, all around Celtic Park, and he's got stories that will blow your mind. You know, of him being at the foundation gigs in New York and all that with Rod, and on the flight through with the team and Mr. Lennon beside him. You know, I wonder if they're a couple of aperitifs or not. We'll maybe I'll try and dig out as much juice off him as I can. You know what I'm like? He might have to say no comment to a few of my questions, but hey ho, that's the way it goes sometimes. But yes, Liam McGrandles tomorrow. If I've got my SIM card, we will be doing the breakfast bar Wednesday. If not, I need to go to the office, so I won't be able to do it. Thursday, we've got the TNF. On Friday, I think Friday I'm going to release the Barber Chair Confessions. I think that'll be a good day to do it. We'll do that in the afternoon. It's very good. It's very good. That's David and Johnny Logue on that. And then Friday night, Phil, tell us about Bustalgia this week, because I'll not be available. I'm doing that charity thing. What are we doing? 2014 World Cup?
No, it's the next tournament. It's Euro 2012. It's the one in between. Yeah, it's Euro 2012. That one. Poland and Ukraine were the host nations. A few memorable moments in there. Obviously, Joe Hart getting it done by Beale, so that's quite relevant for us with being a Celtic goalkeeper now. That was
when he was doing I won £100 on that. I put a £50 bet on Italy to win pens, and he went a goal behind. And I was like, you're still thinking they'll bottle it. And then I remember Joe Hart doing that face. Remember, if Pirlo misses, Italy go out.
That's right, aye.
Don't pull faces at Pirlo. Just Panenka's you and just. Do you know what he said after he did it? Panenka went, nobody cares, mate.
So that tournament's on the agenda. I say we've got that. You've also got the Balotelli moment where he scores and does the flex where he takes his shirt off, and a Dutch disaster where they go from World Cup finalists to getting eliminated in the group stages. Remember Nicholas Bentner and all getting fined for having paddy power on his underwear? That happened at that tournament. Remember he took his shirt off and the paddy power waistband. You get a fine for that.
So deliberate the way.
These are all fines that we'll be talking about for Euro 2012 on Friday night. I'll need to see if anybody else from teams. It'll be me, Liam, and I'll need to find a third person. If not, me and Liam will just do it anyway. But obviously the chair is there for anyone in the Boyce Bus team that wishes to. Yeah, Jonathan, do you remember anything from Euro 2012, mate?
I don't remember anything about fuck all anymore by the sounds of things, Phil. My confidence has been shattered. You've ruined me over the past few weeks.
Sorry,
bring it back to Celtic, Phil. Bring it back to Celtic. See ya. We'll make it on next week, Jonathan. You can pick. What do you want to do it on?
I don't know. I don't know. Nobody cares, mate. Nobody cares about this quiz anymore.
Oh dear. Right, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we'll leave you there. This has been the Monday Club. It's been Boyce, Jonathan, and of course Phil McGinley for a bit of Sutton Death at the end. 6-2, looking down on the Jono. Good night.
Some of his comments about me deliberately trying to cause controversy. Well, I work in the media now, and you've got someone sitting there next to you who's an embarrassment to the media profession. He's an apologist. He's a charlatan.
Nobody cares, mate.